Well, hello and welcome back. This is episode 2 of Dinged Corners. Myself and Rob, sports card therapist, had a good little talk. Today it was all about what do we collect, kind of going through different parts of our collection. And I really like talking to Rob about just kind of how his collection has evolved over time. When we got back in the hobby, we were collecting certain things, but of course, just like with anything else, you get deep into it, you dive in, and then it evolves over time. So we talk through all of that. Before we get started though, big thanks to video sponsor COMC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace now home to more than 30 million cards from baseball superstars like Aaron Judge to Marvel favorites like Spider-Man. COMC has something for every type of collector, so make sure to visit COMC.com today to build out your collection with your favorite cards. Definitely check out COMC. It's a good time. All right, guys, let's roll that clip. Frank? Somebody back there. Roll it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new 3-part series that we are calling Dinged Corners with Sports Card Dad and Sports Card Therapist, reminding you that there's no perfect way to collect. He's Dustin. I'm Rob. Episode 2, what do we collect? Dustin, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Another day, another video.
Listen,
good to be with you.
Yeah, likewise, man. I felt really good about episode 1. You know, episode 1 was why do we collect, and we were able to cover a lot, I feel like, in that first episode, and it was just packed with really good stuff that I think we weren't reinventing the wheel by any means, but it just felt like a really great conversation we had. So if anyone missed that, I would definitely urge you to go back and check out episode 1.
Yeah, and I think our goal too is to be, relevant conversation to newcomers into the hobby, but also something that, people that have been in for a while, they can also take something from. So I agree. I think we accomplished that.
Yeah. So, episode 1, we talked about why do we collect, but on this one in particularly, I think we're going to be, a bit more, I don't know if I want to say selfish, but we're going to be talking about what it is indeed we collect, but it's not going to be so much about who or what we collect. I think it's going to be more about the reason behind why and who we collect, and really what journey, what has led us to settling on or feeling like these are the players, these are the teams, these are the athletes that we want to collect.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm excited to get going.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So now there's this whole PC pyramid idea, right? Mm-hmm. And you picture what a pyramid looks like, right? A pyramid is basically a triangle, and the pyramid at the very top, right? Like the top chunk of the pyramid, that's considered the top of your PC. The top of your PC. All signs kind of point to that. Then the second level is really that next tier. And then there's the third level, then the fourth level. And I know for me, the whole concept of a PC pyramid that I learned about through Kyle at the Wax Museum when he had Connell Collections on. I loved it. I took that and ran with it because I need direction. I need direction in my life. If I'm just out there buying anything I see that tickles my fancy, which every single day I come across something that I'm like, I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Right. Now, let me ask you, where do you mostly find, where do you spend most of your time looking at cards, whether if it's like at a local card shop, if it's scrolling, is it eBay, Twitter, Instagram? Where are you spending most of your viewing of cards time?
I would say historically it's been eBay. It's just convenient. I've been doing less of it lately, but I would say that if we're just talking historically, that's kind of my go-to place, just to be able to very quickly save a search, kind of get an idea of what's going on in a particular area of cards. So that's probably where I go first, I would say.
Yeah. So are you when you're scrolling on eBay, are you typing in specific players? Are you typing in the exact card you're looking for? Or are you looking at people's shops, like their profiles? Like if you see that, like, oh man, this guy's got a Hank Aaron auto, on card auto, that's a vintage card. I wonder what else he has. And then you click on his shop, then start like, so how is it that you navigate and figure out what it is you're looking for? Because eBay's something very specific. You can't really just jump on eBay and start scrolling it, looking at card picks the way that you would like Instagram and Twitter. You have to have some sort of direction on eBay.
I think too, part of the fun or the chase is if you don't keyword something, or let's say the seller does not keyword something correctly, then you might have the right search. You might have it framed up right, but it doesn't come into your search results because they, listed it wrong, or you typed it in wrong or whatever. So to me, like, for example, like one of the saved searches I have is Stranger Things autograph card. I check it every single day to see if there's any sort of, grail kind of that pops up, if there's a blue out of 10, or if there's a 1 of 1 that just surfaces out of nowhere. But there's also different ways that I'll phrase that, is just because there's times where I'll search that and then somehow I'm like, I'll be looking at a card and it'll be like similar things to this. And then I look down and it's like, wait, there's that. Like, how did I miss this? Like, this is something that I would be interested in, like didn't show up in the search.
Like maybe the seller promoted it as signed card instead of autograph card.
Yeah. I got so kind of I'm looking at back at some of the stuff that you've recently got into, and I'm kind of in the same boat. So Greg Maddux, this is 87 tops traded. It's an auto 10, but it's also a 10, a PSA 10. And I've been looking for these 10s. But while everybody else is focusing on Willie Mays and Jackie Robinson and all these legends, I'm actually focused more on kind of those like 90s legends that are not quite there yet. Like they're not quite getting there. They're not vintage yet, So Randy Johnson, Barry Bonds is a big one for me.
I was just thinking about Randy Johnson when you said his name.
Randy Johnson, Barry Bonds, even Mark McGwire. I know that, and PEDs, like, here's the thing. I don't collect based off of PED. Like, I don't care. I don't care if they, Barry Bonds is still the home run leader. I still think that he's magnificent regardless of the PED stuff. Roger Clemens is another guy. If you look at just his stats, he won titles. Like he's done everything. All you do have the PED kind of hanging over these guys' head, but I would say I'm a Hall of Fame autograph collector. But as far as baseball cards go, I haven't softened on vintage baseball. It's just that I feel like the prices for vintage baseball have moved up so dramatically over the last 5 years. I'm looking for value. So like that Maddux card is kind of an example of a guy that was just so dominant. I love the fact that Greg Maddux also just looks like he could be your neighbor. He's just like the everyman. He's not like a physically dominant Randy Johnson type figure. So I won't go off too far on a tangent, but when searching for Maddux autographs, I started with like, Greg Maddux rookie auto. And then you kind of like, you work through that, because there's also like pretty cool, like 5-star or Topps Dynasty or newer stuff that you can go through as well. And then also I've just looked at, I've tried to search just to get the auto 10s and the gem mint 10s, just trying to get like, can I just get a swath of like all the guys you've got? Frank Thomas is another guy that I was looking at, for that.
I've got a couple Frank Thomas rookie signed in persons. Yeah.
So,
and those will regularly, now I don't know about the gem mint 10s that you're talking about, but I mean, I regularly see Frank Thomas graded on card auto rookies with a 10 auto, maybe not the card graded. I regularly see them going for like between $40 and $60.
Yeah, there's one. So there is a 10. I'm blowing my cover here, but there's one on eBay that I've been looking at that is a 10. It's a 10 rookie and then a 10 auto as well. Because what I'm looking for is I'm also looking for a little bit of a differentiator there. So I want the 10-10 or I want an inscription auto. So you'll see like I think you've got like a Hall of Fame, Julius Erving behind you. Like I like like I've got one that's like Lou Brock, the franchise. It's like, that's awesome. I want some sort of inscription there. So
yeah, without a doubt.
That is I went way off on a tangent. So sorry about that, Rob, but that's one of my side PCs. I guess I'll start with one of my side PCs.
That's awesome. Love it. So you have the Greg Maddux. Is that a rookie?
It is. Yeah, it's the 87 tops traded rookie. So it's not a rare card, obviously. They printed them to oblivion, but the fact that you've got the 1010, that's kind of the differentiator on card.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, from if you go back to episode 1 of Sports Card Therapist, I've talked about how my PC, my main two guys to collect, and I've never wavered from this, and I have no problem wavering because life is all about evolution. And I actually just recently did an episode on change versus evolution when it comes to collecting cards. Change is something that you're like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to sell all my Ricky Hendersons now, and I'm really going to put all that money into Ken Griffey Jr. I think Griffey's going to be my guy. But evolution is something like almost like what I've been doing with, from the start, it was iconic rookie cards. I have a just iconic rookie cards I have an obsession with. And then I've evolved into, you know what? I want in-person on-card autos of those. So, but at the top of my PC pyramid has always been, and here's a spoiler alert for some of the cards I'm going to be showing, have been Hulk Hogan and Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle, because I'm a Yankees fan. He's an all-time great, and my father would often speak of Mickey Mantle. I think everyone in our age range, we're about 40. I think all of our family, all of our fathers or uncles or baseball fans always said like the Mick is the best. Even though we know he wasn't the best, he was definitely a top 10 player of his era, maybe top 5 of his era, but he wasn't Willie Mays. Right. I mean, but still, regardless. So the first card that I'm going to show is, and this is the second copy that I've owned of this card, but this card is super important to me. And when I bought this card the first time, I should say, when I bought my first copy of this card, it was a worse copy, but I felt like I've arrived in this hobby. Like I'm in this now. And what that card is the 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle.
Woof.
51 Bowman Mickey Mantle. So, like I said, this is the second copy I've owned of it. It's really hard to get a good or even a decent copy, a decent centered copy. And if you do, you are absolutely paying a premium for it. So, so this 51 Mantle just means so much to me. It's just his true rookie. Everyone focuses on the 52 tops, but this is the 51 Bowman. It was pack pulled, and now don't get me wrong, the 52 top set, it's probably top 3 baseball sets of all time. So and aesthetically, everything, like I could understand why the 52 gets the recognition it does, but what I don't understand is why this is so undervalued.
Right. In comparison.
Yeah. So that's my first one.
Yeah. It's funny too, because the hobby is kind of hypocritical in that way. It's like rookie cards are number 1, except for, the 52 top set. It's just kind of a weird thing with that. That is an awesome card. All right, so my main PC player, I know I got off track there when we started out, but I'm a diehard New Orleans Saints fan ever since 1987. My dad passed that down to me, so that's kind of the father-son connection that we've got. The best Saints player to ever play, Drew Brees. I do have rookie cards for him. I really want his Topps Chrome Black would be like the Grail Brees PC card. And it's not like, I mean, they're on eBay right now. They're numbered out of 100. It's probably a $5,000 to $7,000 card, which for me is pricey.
That's a lot of money for anyone. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's for a PC player too. For me, value matters, but really this is more about like, I'm a huge Saints fan. So this one has special significance to me because I got it at my first national, which going back to 2021 in Rosemont, Chicago area. And it's the 1-of-1 black box version. And so, and I traded, it's funny, ironically, it's cash plus trade, but I traded a Baker Mayfield autograph, a Panini 1 autograph numbered out of 15, which I'm glad that I did make that trade. And now Baker is in our division playing for the Bucks. So it's almost like it was meant to be. My in-laws are huge Browns fans, so I was also kind of a Baker fan by default, but now he's with the enemy, so can't love him. But yeah, so Drew Brees, we're season ticket holders for the Saints. He's always going
Oh
to.
wow! So
Yeah.
you go to 8 Saints games a year?
No. I go to you. Well, so we just got them last year. This is kind of funny. When my wife and I started dating in 2009, and of course, like for her, this was the height. She started dating me at the peak of Saints fandom because they won the Super Bowl that year. So that year, she called about season tickets because she was like, you're a diehard fan. We got to see about tickets. The wait list was like 30,000 people deep or something. Well, last year they called us. So this is like 14 years later or whatever. Last year, of course, like Sean Payton leaves, Drew Brees leaves, and now all of a sudden they got tickets, So I bought, we bought them. And so now we're season ticket holders. So we've been on the list for literally like 14, 15 years.
So this is going to be your first season.
Yeah, so last year was the first season. So I went to the Bucks game against Tampa because I wanted to see Tom Brady in person, never seen him play in person. And then we went to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Both of those we lost at the very end of the game. So those were tough. But yeah, so I'll probably go to 2 games a year and then just sell off, the rest of the tickets. And that kind of pays for it. I might be out a few $100, but I also don't, we didn't get club seats or anything like that. So
yeah. So let me ask you, and it's sad that I even have to ask this, I guess. It says a lot about your team, but who's the starting quarterback for the Saints?
We have Derek Carr. So we just
That's
got him.
right. You guys just got Carr. I was thinking Jameis Winston for some reason, but I forgot you guys just got Derek Carr. That's exciting.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, I think he actually went to the Panthers. He was our starter this past year. Well, Jameis was, and then it was Andy Dalton. Jameis is still on the team. He's going to hang around. He re-signed as a backup. So yeah, the Saints are it's one of those teams where it's like I've been a fan forever. So regardless of how we're doing, I'm always a fan. But yeah, Breeze is kind of, he's the ultimate PC guy, and I struggle with kind of, I've got some pretty nice Breeze cards that I could move up into larger Breeze cards, and I might have to do that down the line at some point. Like that Black Refractor we were talking about. Maybe I do a cash plus trade thing, but yeah. So
have you spoken to Drake's PC on Instagram?
Yeah. I got in touch with Drake way early on when I started making content, and then once he found out that I was a Breeze collector, he actually did an IG live with me and other guys. Maybe a couple months back we did that.
I didn't know you were part of that. Yeah,
I was on that, and then we message here and there too. I met him at the National back a couple years back. He's a great guy. I like Drake.
Definitely. I tell you, the cash plus trade thing, all 4 of those cards. Now, you know what, the Dr. J I paid full cash for, but all the other 3 cards I traded up into cash plus trade. That has been my collecting hack. And I know that's not like a big secret or anything like that, but I think obviously cash is king, right? But anytime someone allows me to trade up into a card, I if it makes sense, it makes sense. And most of the time it does make sense. And for, a lot of these high-end dealers, if they can get, this is the way I look at it, right? So these high-end dealers that, I probably have at least 5 of them on speed dial, right? They're always cash heavy. So they're usually buying cards at like 75% of comps, right? So they're buying cards at 75% of comps. The same thing that guy did that dropped 20K with me at the show, which was actually Mike MC Sports Cards on eBay. It was him. Yep. So he drops 20K with me. Anyways, so these guys, they're cash heavy. So they get cards at 75% comps, and then here comes Sports Card Therapist. Here I come along, and I'm like, hey, I have half cash, half trade at 100% value. Will you take it? Oftentimes they will, because they're still making 25% on whatever card they're moving. So if I can get a handful of dealers, which I really have now, after making these kind of connections, that are like, yeah, man, yeah, okay, I'm asking 3K for it. Yeah, I'll take 1,500 in trade. Let me see what you got. 1,500 cash, boom. So, because the only way I feel like I know for me to be able to move up into bigger cards is to do that.
Yeah, because a lot of us, we have a lot of we're cash poor, not poor, but we're card rich.
Yeah.
There's a lot of card equity there.
And that's why we'll get a card, or I'll get a card, and I'll talk about how much the card means to me and how happy I am to have it. And then 6 months to a year later, I end up moving it. Right? Like, I never get a card with the intention on moving it. Every time I get a card or acquire a card, I get it with the intention of it being my forever home. However, if I can move up into something even bigger for that, then you know what? I probably will.
But that's great, though. I try to do the same thing, because that means you're not FOMOing into something. You're not catching a trend or a player. It's something that you've identified as a long-term hold. And then really, if you move out of it, it's simply just to get into another long-term hold. So you're always like, you're okay being stuck with it if you're stuck with it.
Yes. And 100%, man. And it's that old as time in the hobby cliche saying, how many times have you said it? How many times have I said it? If all cards went to zero tomorrow, would you be happy with the cards that you have in your possession? And if the answer is no, then I don't know. Then you're probably in it for the money then, which I'm not knocking, right? Because in my opinion, we do need dealers. We do need flippers, because it's those kind of guys that can really move cards around until it gets into someone's forever collection. It's like, if we, sometimes it could be difficult trying to strike deals with other collectors. Like, you put two collectors in a room and you don't know if a deal is going to happen. But if you put a dealer or a flipper in a room with a collector, chances are they can get a deal done. So I think that flippers and dealers are kind of like the lubrication to facilitating a lot of these deals. So that's why I can never knock anyone. I think anyone that's in the hobby, anyone's hustle, for the most part, unless you're straight up trying to scam or deceive, I think everyone's welcome for the most part.
Well, yeah, and if everyone is 1,000% collector that never sells, then there's no shows.
No cards would become available.
Nothing's for sale.
Nothing's for sale if we're all collectors, right? Yeah. You'll never get a card. So, so my next card. So I'm going to continue on the trend of my PC pyramid, and so the first card I showed was my Mickey Mantle, and which when I got, I said, "Wow, I have arrived," and just meaning like, okay, I'm in this now. I'm making a commitment, getting that mantle. The second card is probably the most iconic Hogan card. The 85 Topps rookie is probably his most iconic card, but this right here might be his most important card, and that is the 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Hulk Hogan. This has a on-card auto. This is BGS authenticated, autograph grade of a 9. I don't know how it's a 9. I mean, that thing is as crisp as it gets, but yeah. So I mean, this Hulk Hogan card, and so when I got back into the hobby, I was really, really happy and almost like relieved and excited to see that there was a small section of the hobby that were wrestling collectors. And I don't collect anyone new. I haven't watched a WWE match.
Oh yeah, the new products and stuff.
I mean, even going back to the Attitude Era, I was out before the Attitude Era, so I don't really have nostalgia for like The Rock and Stone Cold. Like, I'm super appreciative of what they've done, but my era, I'm in Connecticut, and the WWE headquarters is in Stamford, Connecticut. My father told me a story about driving down the highway on I-95, and they were stuck in traffic, and Hulk Hogan pulled up right next to him in a convertible. Like, because all the wrestling stars are like right there in Stamford, and that's where my dad always worked. So, so for me, wrestling cards, again, nostalgia. I mean, I collect Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, things like that. But
it's the I'm not really guys.
What was that?
The vintage guys.
Exactly. I'm not really collecting anyone new because it doesn't hit me in the feels. And
Yeah.
and I think when it comes to wrestling cards, even if I was to put some money into it, like I don't feel so strong about the market long term in terms of a modern sense, I guess. And I think it's probably because what we saw happen with Prism, and I know it was so much hype, right? It was so much hype with like the Prism set that dropped, but I mean, boxes have declined by like 90% for a box of wrestling
Okay, I
Prism.
didn't realize that.
Oh,
Much.
insane the drop off.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you. I mean, when you think about those guys too, there's a bunch of documentaries on like Bret Hart and those guys. The
love
thing that's
them.
great about those guys is they were making no money. They were
Yeah.
making nothing. I think the Bret Hart, when I was watching, it was literally like 5 guys packed into a van traveling around. Like they had nothing. They just enjoyed it. They could make a little bit of money at it. And it was better than, like working manual labor. It was better than digging ditches and doing kind of the stuff. I mean, but those guys, and you could probably draw the same comparison to like vintage baseball players or football players. They
had jobs in the off season,
jobs and stuff. Yeah. So I totally get you. The only nostalgia I have with wrestling is that those older stuff. I wasn't a huge wrestling fan, but I did go to an event in the 90s, and it was like Lex Luger was there, and those guys. But yeah, I mean, you go back to like Ultimate Warrior days and Andre the Giant, and that stuff. It was, it's just awesome. So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, and I can't get enough of those locker room stories that you hear from these wrestlers. And you're talking about, I think, like there's a lot of Dark Side of the Ring, documentary, shows and stuff, and there's just been so many incredible documentaries and shows done on every wrestler, everything from like the real relationship with Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man all the way to what it was like in the locker room, how they were on the ring, and a lot of the stuff really bled over into like reality. Like the lines were so blurred with the characters they played versus what things were like in the locker room. And it's just so fascinating. There's so many levels to it, because when you think about regular sports, it's like, yeah, we know maybe Terrell Owens was kind of a jerk as a teammate, right? And we know that Charles Haley was a nutcase in the locker room. Like we hear those stories, but it's like, other than that, it's strictly performance based on the field. Whereas with wrestling, so much of it is locker room dynamic in those stories. And I think when you're really into a product, it's like you just want to hear all. It just adds another level to the collecting. So it's fun. So that's my Hulk Hogan. I'm a Hulkamaniac, man. So my Hulk Hogan collection is insane. Listen, there are people out there, Rob Englund, David Peck, Rich Hoppy, so many people out there that have these Hulk Hogan collections that I would never even be able to touch. But I'm very proud of my Hulk Hogan collection. I have a Hulk Hogan PMG numbered out of 125.
Seen that one, that you have.
Yeah. He's the only wrestler ever with a PMG. Not The Rock. No one else. No one has a PMG. He does, and it was part of a 6-card set with like Tiger Woods, Michael Phelps.
And people now, if you're not our age too, you don't understand the phenomenon that was Hulkamania back during that time. Like The Rock, he's popular. John Cena, they're popular, but it doesn't compare to what, because there was much less media. It's kind of like Michael Jordan in the 80s.
I was just going to say Michael Jordan. Like he was comparable to Michael Jordan as far as his fame.
And even like Dale Earnhardt Sr., like even if you weren't a NASCAR fan, you were like, that guy's badass, like
the Intimidator.
I mean, you knew that these guys were all legends. It was, no, that's awesome.
Good stuff. All right. So what's your next card?
All right, next one. I'm going to go Stranger Things with this one. So this is a side PC for sure. It's been a fun project. This card in particular is the directors, the founders of the show. It's the twins, the Duffer brothers. So it's Matt and Ross Duffer. This is season 2, and the dual autographs are just really
10 out
really
of 10 SGC graded it.
Yeah, they're really
SGC is a tough grade.
Yeah, they are. I only have a few 10/10s, to be honest, and I have a lot of these auto type cards for Stranger Things. Well, auto cards in general, but those guys. I picked that one. I've got a lot of that stuff, but I picked that one just because they're the creators of the show, and it's just kind of a unique kind of culture card set to where you actually have the founders of it that are the creators as part of the set, as opposed to just the characters. So
it's like getting a Vince McMahon autograph. Drake from Drake's PC, I mean, has probably the best Vince McMahon autograph of all time, and he like shattered the record for what he paid for it too. It like sent shockwaves through the wrestling community, like when they're like, who bought that super fracture 1 of 1? Who I think he paid over 10 grand for it or something.
Drake did?
Who is the owner of that? So yeah, it's like, when you can get the creators, that's really cool.
Yeah, and that show, the story behind that is that show came out summer of 2016, and or maybe it was fall, but it kickstarted my nostalgia bug, where I was really kind of looking back at some of my childhood's 80s stuff, collectibles, because the show is based in the 80s. And then from there, 3 out of my 4 kids, my son is too small, it's too scary for him, and then my wife doesn't like scary stuff, but me and 3 of my kids watch it. We're actually rewatching seasons to try to get an idea of what season 5 is, what's coming in season 5, the final season. So it's a family affair. So that I joke, like when a Drew Brees card comes in the mail, my kids are like, "Oh, that's cool, Dad, got another Drew Brees card." But then when I get like a Stranger Things autograph card, they're like, "Yes, Dad's got some cool stuff." So that's where I've been able to kind of marry the hobby part with my family to where they're actually like, "Okay, that stuff's really cool."
Yeah, love it, man, love it. So my next card, season 2 of Sports Card Therapist. I'm on season 4 right now. So right now I'm around like episode 160 right now. So right around episode 50, I put out a goal that I was going to acquire a $100,000 card, and
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was like my big goal, and I hadn't said what the card was at first because I didn't want to have someone like hold my feet to the fire if they had one, and I didn't want to like unknowingly drive up the value on some of these cards. So but after like 2 months I had like no leads on the card because it's numbered out of 250. So I ended up putting it out there and immediately started getting leads on cards, and so I ended up picking it up, and let me just say the value has gone down big time on it, and so I'm definitely in the red on this card. I know everything's gone down, right? But LeBron really took a hit. LeBron's market really took a hit, and this is just going to be a long-term hold for me because I have confidence in this card and what the value can be long-term. So it is the LeBron James Ultimate Collection. And this, if you look at the first 3 cards I have shown you, right? The first 3 cards I have shown you, the LeBron, the Hulk Hogan, and the Mantle, all iconic rookie cards.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what I'm all about, iconic rookie. And 2 of the 3 are autographed. So there's something special to me on card auto. Obviously, I'm not saying anything that probably most people don't feel, but to have an on-card auto as opposed to a sticker auto, there's just a different feeling there, knowing that the person, the athlete, the creator, Stranger Things, like that kind of thing, actually held that card. There's something cool about that. So, and this LeBron card just it means something different for me, right? Even money, aside, value aside, I bring it to shows with me, knowing I'm not going to move it. And I actually had an offer 2 months ago, and they offered me over comps. They offered me actually what I paid for it. And I said no. I'm not going to do it. I said I believe in this card long term, so I appreciate the offer. But But yeah, so this is the card I bring to shows, and people that have kind of been with me on this sports card therapist journey, they know the card. They've heard me talk about it. They've seen it. They come up to it and they say, "There it is. There's the LeBron. I see you brought it today." So it's a great conversational piece. And
Yeah.
I know that any show I go to, maybe other than national, I'm going to be the only person in the room with that card. And I can say that about all three of these cards. And probably the fourth card I'm going to show you, that I'm going to be the only person in the room with that card.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say, Ken from Sports Card Lessons, he's pointed out that he said, like, and I'm totally paraphrasing here, I'm making up words he's saying, but basically what he said is, you know what, man, like, I'm getting tired of this like quarterback flipping game, because you want to know what happens? People come up to my table, they say, "Where are you at on that burrow?" I give them a price, and there's 10 other of the exact same card or very comparable cards in the room. They say, "Okay, thank you." And they walk
Yeah.
around and they shop the price.
Yeah.
So it's, it's like, when you're playing that game, that's, if I'm buying cards that there's so many of them out there, or comparable ones, when you're playing that kind of market, it definitely favors the buyer.
Yeah.
Right? It definitely favors the buyer. But when you have something that is super rare and you might be the only person in the room with it, that definitely favors the seller. And if you are playing in a market where everything favors the buyer, because there's so many Trevor Lawrence's out there, there's so many Joe Burrows, there's so many this, there's so many that, everyone's going to want it under comps, and eventually they're going to find a dealer at the show that's going to give them the price that they want to be at. And if
Yeah.
everyone's buying under comps, if we all bought under comps, all cards would be at zero eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really astute observation. I think more and more dealers are looking to have a unique, just a unique set of cards that they're bringing. For one, you could argue, hey, there's not a bunch of comps on this, so you can kind of name your price. But it also pulls the collectors out, because usually, a flipper going to take a chance on a bunch of cards where there's not really a comp for it? Probably not. I mean, but the idea, though, is if you have a buying pool that is mainly collectors of certain music cards or certain bands, whatever, let's just use that as an example, then a lot of times they might be repeat buyers, and you're the one that happens to have the Nirvana cards or whatever it is, and then you're building that rapport with someone that actually, like, you found the end customer there.
Did you see that autographed Nirvana in Philly?
No,
Is that why you said that?
No, I've been trying not to talk about stuff I'm looking for, but that's one I'm definitely looking for. It's kind of their early cards. I didn't see the signed one though.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a card or if it was a record, but it was a Kurt Cobain signed something.
Oh, wow.
And the guy had, and you know what? Let me tell you something, man. I try not to talk about things too much that I'm going for too, but really that's just been my journey, and I've actually had people message me and being like, "Hey, check out this Eli I just got." I was like, "Yeah, I was bidding on that too. Thanks." Like, so it's like, I started up this massive side PC of Eli. Like, I kind of gave myself permission. I never like collecting current players. I just don't. There's so many variables that can happen, especially if they're players on my team. It's like, I've been a lifelong Giants fan. Okay, what happens if Saquon Barkley doesn't get the contract he wants next year and leaves? And now I have all these Saquon cards, and I'm just like pissed at him. Like, thank God I didn't have any Odell Beckham Jr. cards. I cannot stand Odell now, but when we had him, I loved him. But I can't stand him. Maybe 10 years from now, I might buy a really nice Odell rookie card to remember, those seasons I had with him. But right now, no. But I recently just kind of gave myself permission, which sounds crazy to say, to start my Eli Manning PC. And let me tell you something. Hold on. I'm moving my camera. I usually don't move my camera. I don't know how well you can see it.
All right, I'm looking.
But those are all
oh, wow.
Eli.
Yeah, those look like exquisite.
Those are all exquisite patches. Those are some rookie autos. Those are all golds. Those are all gold refractors and black refractors. Here's some more exquisites.
Wow, that
More
is sweet.
golds. So yeah, man. So I finally gave myself permission to start collecting certain players, and it's cool. It's fun. So listen, I got off on a tangent. My bad. So
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm the same with Alvin Kamara right now because the Kamara has just been so awesome with the Saints. But it's like, is he going to get suspended for half the year? Are we going to is he going to end his career in New Orleans?
Yeah.
No, probably not. I mean, he's expensive, and usually you know how it goes. Like running backs hit 30, like Le'Veon Bell or something. They still want 20 million a year, and then the team cuts them and they go somewhere else to finish it out. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you know how many times I've almost pulled the trigger on a Alvin Kamara Select XRC?
Really?
I love XRCs first of all.
Yeah, and his is a cool card. He's got some great looking cards.
And second of all, I know he's not going to be in that LaDainian Tomlinson category, right? Because like LT had he broke the rushing record for touchdowns at one season, and his stats are. But Kamara, though, I mean,
he was electric coming out too. His first 4 years, he was so fun to watch. And not that he's not fun now, but I think he's also just being a little bit more careful with his body. He's making a lot more money now. I think when that rookie contract, guys go all out for that second contract. And I'm not saying he's holding back, but naturally, I think any athlete's trying to, extend their career as much as they can, especially a running back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. I'm going with my last one.
Last one. Let's go.
All right, last one. Now, this isn't a PC player, but it's just vintage football rookie. I would say cards, but QBs mostly. But I've got running backs. I've got like Earl Campbell, rookie card and stuff. But this is one I've been looking at or looking to get for years. It's the 57 Topps Bart Starr. It's really well centered. The one thing that you'll find with a lot of these is just it'll be it might be centered, but then it's got marks on the front. The surface is terrible, or the coloring isn't great. The registration. This is one that just kind of fit the bill, and then the price point was just right. So this is one again that I was looking at like 4 to 6, and even like this 4 looks better than some of the 6s that I've looked at because I'm prioritizing centering and surface. So it's really tough. Especially vintage dealers. With centering, it's like when they get nice centered cards, they want top dollar premium for it because they know that's what a lot of people are looking for. So
it's the old I know what I have.
Yeah, and I got lucky to where a viewer of the channel, again, another reason to start a YouTube channel or a podcast if you happen to be thinking about it. But he had sent me another one that looked really good as a 4.5 about 6 or 7 months back. I responded to him a day too late. He sold it before I responded back because I was like, oh, man, that's a nice copy. I'll definitely take that. Yeah. He's like, oh, it's gone. I'm like, damn it. And then he came back to me literally like a few weeks ago and was like, hey, I've got this 4. Honestly, I thought it was going to get like a 6, but it came back a 4. And so I know you're looking for this card. And he gave me a fair price. He didn't give it away or anything, but he gave me definitely a fair price for it, considering that, it just looks a lot better than, the 5s and 6s I've been looking at.
Yeah. Beautiful, man.
Thanks.
All right. So last card. This is actually something I just acquired, something that I never imagined myself getting or having the opportunity to. I think the pop on this, just in total, all grades, I think it's around 200 to 300, all grades with the auto. But it is the iconic 1980s Topps Bird Dr. J Magic. This is the triple auto. And what made it really cool about the triple auto is it's a graded of a PSA 10 auto. So that means all 3 autos need to be 10s. And
that's insane.
Yeah, man. I was
a unique card. There's how many, is there another one like that?
So yeah, so there's, like I said, I think there's and I'm sure listeners or watchers might correct me in the comments, but I think in all grades, triple auto, I think there's around between 200 and 300 that exist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there's between.
Still
yeah.
Really.
So basically, if you look at my where I'm really going with it, right? It's iconic rookies, it's signed rookies, and every one of these cards is, except for the mantle. The mantle has a higher pop count, but the other three have pop counts that are probably 250 or less, around there. So for me, that's really important. So, but Dustin, man, it was great hearing about your PC and the reasons why you collect what you do and how you're able to connect the cardboard with the person.
Yeah, it's fun. And like we talk about, it's always evolving. I mean, my Stranger Things PC started less than a year ago, and I've dove, headfirst into it. And who knows, maybe in a couple years there'll be another side PC. So yeah, no, it's always fun stuff. And yeah, thanks for showing me yours.
Yeah, man. And so just before we wrap up, I'm wondering, because we're always talking about how um you know your collection should be unique to you, right? And collecting is it just says so much about us, right? I mean, really, you look at someone's PC and you really have an idea of where they are in the hobby. If I go up to a table and I see, like we've talked about, if I see like 5 high-end Josh Allen RPAs, 5 high-end Trevor Lawrence RPAs, I'm like, okay, this guy has likely been in cards for a while before the boom. They're a high end dealer, and they probably they have to they probably make decent margins on all their deals. That's just me assuming, right? And when I walk up to a table or I see someone's PC that is very, a player that like a Drew Brees, right? A Drew Brees who there isn't a ton of demand for him, but he's a GOAT,
Mhm.
or a Stranger Things. That tells me that paints a picture of you, who you are, your fandom in your life, right? But I guess, to close this out, is there any wrong way to collect, do you think?
I don't think so. Yeah, and I think too, everyone has their own budgets as well. The card hobby has gotten, as you know, it's gotten a lot more expensive over the last 5 years than what it was previous. So, you know, and again, it's stuff that we talk about on our channels, but the keeping up with the Joneses type stuff. I mean, you can get, yeah, you just have to be really careful with that. I think it's a marathon, not a sprint. So whether, regardless of what your motivations are, if it's more, money, or if it's just collecting cardboard stuff of players that you like, it's there. I would say there's absolutely no way. And it's okay for it to change too. When I first got into the hobby, I was collecting certain things. 5 years later, I'm collecting some of those original things, but I've got a bunch of other stuff that I'm into as well. So, I think that it's okay to kind of, get in, make a few mistakes, or start off collecting one thing and then find out other things. Cause that's the other thing. There's just a zillion different options out there, and you're not going to know all those options on day one. It's going to take years to even understand all of your options, So, yeah, my short/long answer is definitely no on that front.
All right. Yeah, man. Very well said. Very well said. And you had mentioned, people have different budgets and different things, and I would just urge anyone that has not watched your video, Dustin, the Sports Card Dad video, about having a card buying addiction, and what that did, and really how you and your wife came together and said, okay, listen, this is what we're going to do. This is what our financial situation looks like. This is where I need to maybe take a step back and curb some of the spending, because I think probably if you are listening to this or watching this, I think that there's at least a small part of most of us. I say most of us, I didn't say all of us. So if it don't apply, let it fly. But but I think there's probably a big part of most of us that can identify with that. So definitely go back and check out that Sports Card Dad video if you have not already.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and Dustin, yet again, episode 2 of Dinged Corners. This is a 3-part series we are doing. So we're already over that hump day. We're already we're at rounding out episode 2. I'm excited for next week for episode 3, man. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
No, let's keep it going. No, I really enjoy these. Obviously, just hobby talk in general, but yeah, I think these are important subjects. So I'm glad that we're collabing.
Yeah, likewise, man. All right, guys, don't forget, take care of yourselves and your collection. Have a good one. Thanks, Dustin.
All right. Thanks, guys.